Hi Virgo, welcome to your October 2019 Astro Update. It's Rena here. So I'm just going to say this at the beginning of the reading. If you would like to have a natal chart interpretation, I'm offering a special sale. I think I'm going to extend it to the first week in October. Right now I have it on up until September 30th, but in case, sometimes people listen to astrology going into October. So I'll just say like October 8th, or October 7th or something like that. It'll be a special price of $49.76. This is in US dollars. If you're interested, just follow the link below this video. After watching this, of course, or listening. And I just wanted to get that out of the way at the beginning. And what I see here for you, Virgo, is that there's a lot of activity in the second house of earned income, as well as the third house, which is Mercury ruled in the universal chart. It's Gemini's house, so it connects to teaching, learning, the mind itself, the media, writing, public speaking, things like that. Siblings is the third house, even aunts and uncles and cousins, I think. So in any case, I'll get to all that in a second. I just wanted to give an overview. The sun is in the second house in the sign of Libra until later in the month, and the sun in the second house can make you really interested in your finances. This is an earth house being ruled by Taurus. You're an earth sign, so you have a natural affinity for the affairs of this house. And so, to me, the sun is a life-giving force. So it gives you life. It gives your finances life. You may be creatively thinking or coming up with ideas to increase your income, or maybe create other sources of income, or what we call streams of income. And it gives you a practical bent. On the third, Mercury, which has been in this sector, so you've already been thinking and kind of scheming about your money, maybe crunching numbers. Mercury goes into the third house, its own house. So that will make you very communicative. And that might even be, when these planets start to go into the third house, what you decide to do to earn that money. So it could be tutoring. I mean, if you're not a teacher as it is, or maybe you are a teacher and you're like, okay, I need even more money, so maybe I'll do some after-school tutoring and I'll start my own business. The third house can be the internet too. It could be how you get the word out. And it doesn't have to be something elaborate. You might just create a website so that you can direct people to look at your credentials or to order. The third house, like I said, is teaching and learning. You could be getting a certificate. Maybe if you are a teacher and you want to get another endorsement, or if you're training to become an electrician or something like a trade. I mean, it could be any kind of I think it could even be more like a hands-on type of a training. But whatever's going on, it's interesting that it's in Scorpio, because Scorpio is so penetrative. And this is the house. This is the sign that rules your third house. So when you're interpreting things with your natal chart, you're also looking at the planets that inhabit that. I mean, the signs that inhabit each house, because that will color how the person behaves within the influences that exist with the planets that might be in those houses and what have you. And of course, I'm talking in general terms, because your chart may not resemble exactly what I'm saying in terms of the dates matching up, lining up. But in general, Virgo having Mercury, having Scorpio as their third house means that they have that penetrative mind as it is. And we think of Virgos as rather analytical. And that might be part of it, and how they can kind of get to the marrow of an issue and really suss it out, So, so a lot of mental activity. But again, is it going to be, are you going to really share it with other people? You may kind of be doing your own scheming within yourself and being quite secretive. Mercury in Scorpio is not a real blabbing kind of a influence. Pluto is direct on this very same day of the 3rd at 20 degrees of Capricorn in your 5th house of romance. Yikes, how has that been? For those of you who are single, how has Pluto retrograde these past however months? I still, I keep meaning to refresh my memory on when it went retrograde, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. Probably sometime like in March or so. I think it's been retrograde for 6 months or something like that, maybe 5 months, April perhaps. It's an outer planet, so it's not like the kind of thing we look at to indicate personal impacts, influences. However, with the planet itself being in a house, yes, we can look at it that way, specifically. So Pluto retrograde in the 5th house can mean that there was some kind of karmic issue. If you have a twin flame, all hell might have broken loose. Then you might have had some kind of crazy situation where they ran off with somebody, who knows. Pluto retrograde, Pluto itself is a very, would I call it a difficult energy? I suppose it's challenging, but it's transformative. And it's like if you are out of shape and you undergo a very strict diet or very, rigorous work routine, would we say that's bad? It might be something that takes a lot of guts to do, but the results are worth it. So that's what I mean when I say that Pluto, it's hard to categorize it as something bad, but it might have been difficult. And in the 5th house itself, even going direct as it does now, it may not be as showing the shadow side of love. But even direct, you have to watch out if you're single. And maybe you just kind of got out of this terrible, even scary relationship with somebody who's very obsessive, controlling. If some of you have had the misfortune to experience something like that, don't just sit back and just, breathe a sigh of relief, because Pluto in the 5th house transit can attract very intense lovers, because 5th house is that falling in love stage. And we can broaden it to just talk about love itself. So it's possible that you date somebody and you've been dating them for quite a while, and then all of a sudden you notice a change. Even if you have married them and then all of a sudden they turn into this control freak. And so they were kind of just pretending to be so cooperative or what have you, and it was like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde scenario. So if you've kind of dodged a bullet of sorts, understand that, Pluto is going to be in Capricorn through 2023. And I don't know if it's going to go back. Sometimes when it retrogrades, it goes back into the former sign, even after that. But in any case, It, you could even attract somebody who is a Scorpio, and not to make a joke and say all Scorpios are going to be, control freaks and obsessive. But you could meet somebody who has a strong Scorpio influence. Maybe it's their rising sign and they're very, let's say, swarthy. Why can't I say swarthy? Very like kind of, have a dark tone to their skin, where they're very kind of mysterious looking and, penetrative eyes, the kind of scorpionic appearance, swarthy. I don't know why. It's morning. Sometimes my brain, I have to kickstart. Yeah, so, it might be somebody who has that aura, and then they might be like completely mellow and not controlling at all, but they just have that scorpionic appearance, so it doesn't have to be something bad at all, but just kind of reflect, because this transit has been here since 2008, so you may have had a couple of these characters come into your life if you're single. Pluto in the fifth house, though, you might have actually had a great experience these last few months if you're an artist, because the fifth house is associated with children, and there could be, something with childhood that comes up when Pluto is retrograde in the fifth, where you realize, something, a trauma that you went through, and that you can channel it into your art, because now that Pluto is direct, and it's kind of that external output, whereas the retrograding Pluto might have been a more internalized affair, and the fifth house definitely can be a house of creativity of whatever form it takes for you. And this Pluto influence might have been a great catalyst, actually. So, I just don't see things as good and bad. I think that's too simplistic. Okay, I must have erased the date. I think it was, I know. It's on the very next day, on the 4th of October, Mars goes into Libra. So Mars has been in your sign until the 7th of the month. And I mean the 4th of October. So if you're listening in September, Mars is in your sign. And for Virgo, you might be asking yourself, what got into me? Why am I being so aggressive? Virgo people are not usually that aggressive, except maybe verbally sometimes with criticism and sarcasm, but not in terms of asserting yourself. And you might be a little bit pushy for some reason, but there may be a good reason for it. Perhaps you're trying to accomplish something. And, because when Mars is in the first house, you might feel that urge to promote yourself. Also, Mars in the first house can be like you really working out. Maybe this is kind of a new thing for you, that you're working out more than you usually do, and you're just really on top of your game physically. But then it goes into your second house on the 4th of the month, and that makes you turn your attention to, and your energy to, earning money. And so then you become really motivated to earn money for whatever reason. And perhaps, I've been seeing ads even now of like seasonal workers. And you might just be saying, hey, I want to pick up a few bucks for Christmas. So I'm going to, work a few hours in a store after my day job or what have you. Or if you're retired, I'm going to go back and work 10 hours a week or 20 hours a week. And I want to, do this, or I want to do that. I want to go on vacation in December. I want to escape the snow. So I'm going to do a little seasonal work or something. It might just be, because this is going to be a temporary transit. So it just happens to dovetail nicely with the prelude to the holidays. So that's why I say that. But in any case, you're kind of like very motivated to make money. And that will tend to mean that you attract more of it because you're working for it. On the 8th of the month, Venus goes into Scorpio. So Venus has been in that second house of earned income. That's very significant because Venus rules the second house. So that can bring money to you by the sake of Venus. Now, Venus and Mars are different. Venus doesn't need to like bust its butt to make money the way that Mars does. Venus is more about attracting it. And so it could be like a mixture of both, where you are attracting money without even trying, and you're also working to have it. So now Venus goes into the 3rd, and this means that there might be some kind of a truce. If you've had any problems with siblings, now of course Mars hasn't gone into the 3rd yet, so I might speak too soon. But if you, or maybe just you're doing some kind of a commercial venture with a sibling, and you're making money with them. But it could be making money with the internet. Could be making money through teaching, including tutoring, including anything that has to do with promoting learning. And maybe you have started a YouTube channel or a blog, and you're starting to see money coming from it. And it's it doesn't, indicate how much, but just some kind of financial reward or compensation. Venus in the 3rd, maybe you find love in a place that is connected to the internet. I mean, not the internet. I was going to say to the intellect. Library, bookstore. There's hardly any of those left, though, are there? Or even like through a sibling that you find a love interest, or in your local area. That was one thing I didn't say. The 3rd house is connected to your local area. So in your neighborhood, you're walking around and you just strike up a conversation with somebody at the park, and next thing you know, you're going out to dinner. Or you know what? I said something. I made a mistake, and I said the internet, and but you know what? It could be the internet. Maybe you sign up for an online dating service, and you're talking to somebody online, or you belong to some online forum, and before you know it, you're kind of talking on the phone with this person. Actually, I could see a Virgo person going that route, because since you are ruled by Mercury, that might be your most important thing. You might find somebody sexy based on their mind. And so you might fall in love with somebody's mind before anything else. On the 13th, we have a full moon at 20 degrees of Aries in the 6th house. That's the house that you rule, Virgo. And this means that something is coming to a head when it comes to work or health. Health has to be also mentioned here. So, full moon in the 6th house for health could be, having some kind of a symptom that you realize, maybe you even get it checked out and you realize, okay, I have this situation going on. But the full moon in the 6th house could bring something to the surface that is going on in the workplace. If you've been kind of feeling a little bit uneasy and you're working outside, in a physical office, even with coworkers, this could happen. The 6th house can be your coworkers, and you find something out about them, and you're like, it feels like you're starting to put the pieces together about what has been going on with some stuff that just didn't feel right. So, because full moons can bring out secrets. Also, What else could happen? This could be, to me, it could even be like a promotion, for some people, because it's like you've run the course of your current occupation or position in the office, and you get to move up in position. There is the possibility of saying I quit, but of course, other circumstances would have to cooperate that you were already having problems. It's interesting. Just like I said before when I was talking about Scorpio ruling your third house, if Aries rules your sixth house, I wonder if that means that a lot of Virgo people do have a tendency to quit very abruptly, because Aries is very impetuous. It does things rashly sometimes. So and also Aries could indicate, if you have at least some Aries in your sixth house, I wonder if some of you have issues with conflict in the workplace, because Aries is ruled by Mars, and there could be like a lot of drama in the workplace, and maybe with coworkers. So you always seem to attract coworkers who you fight with, or what have you. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. If that's true, let me know. And I'm talking about, obviously, I'm talking about if you find that they are acting, that they are very aggressive, because if you're behaving like a jerk, then you can't scratch your head and say, why is there so much drama in the workplace? But if you find that you always seem to get into these situations where they're competitive with you, that they're always, picking at you or what have you, then maybe that's the influence. On the 23rd, the sun goes into Scorpio. So the sun goes into that third house. If you want to be a YouTuber, you might choose this month. And anything online. I think Virgos would make great bloggers, because you probably have good writing skills to begin with, and then you have a great love of detail. So you would be good, writing a blog. If you're doing it properly and you're trying to disseminate information, it's good to provide sources and things like that. And it's almost treating it like a research paper or something. Okay, on the 27th or 28th, depending on where you live in the world, we're going to have a new moon, an early degree of Scorpio, 4 degrees. My time in the United States will be 10:38 p.m. Central Standard Time. Again, if you're in Europe or down under, it'll be 28th. This is going to be in that third house. And actually, on Halloween, Mercury retrograde in this house. So the third house really starts to, become front and center of where the action is headed. And Mercury retrograde in its own house. That could be something to connected with everything that I had mentioned previously. Maybe you have a misunderstanding with a sibling. They mistook something you said. They didn't get it. There was some kind of an issue. Any kind of contracts, Mercury rules contracts, you have to watch. And if this had anything to do with a teaching offer, maybe you were told that you were going to start in an elementary school or something like that, and then they postpone it. I was a teacher's assistant. I think that actually happened to me. God, that was many years ago, but it's just like when I said that, I was thinking about that. But you know what? What it could be is that they're going to delay it for some reason. Mercury retrograde might just mean delays, not that it's not going to happen. But you have to prepare. I mean, in life, in general, you have to prepare. Luckily for you, Virgo, you tend to be very flexible about things. And what else? And just to go back to that new moon, that can be like launching a website, and then a few days later, when Mercury goes retrograde, it crashing. Maybe you didn't think it was going to take off as much, or whatever. The company that you got your web design from, or you designed it yourself. There's problems with, the URL. Who knows? I mean, websites are really, sometimes when you're creating it yourself, even if you're doing it on the cheap, you're doing it for free, you still have to deal with some stuff, especially if you want a custom URL. So whatever. It's just going to be about these kinds of issues. You might be rethinking something with the Mercury retrograde about a course of studies. Maybe you say, I was going to get an endorsement as a reading specialist, but I think I'm going to get it in, I don't know, English as a second language or something like that. So anyway, sounds like a lot of mental influences for you, and that's right up your alley, Virgo, so I think you'll resonate with this. I hope that you enjoyed this, and have a great October. Bye.